here. And guys, I know that it's breaking news, but America's gangster, Andrew Capo Cuomo, is going to have to step down. He's stepping down. He's resigning. I think that, and we're back. And I think that overall, obviously, you don't want the gangster in office, right? You don't want him in office. But the bottom line is, he ain't going to jail. He ain't going to jail. And this whole grab ass thing was a diversion. And the Department of Justice should be ashamed of themselves. It is a department of injustice with selective enforcement. That is what that is, okay? And if you didn't see that with them promoting this guy as America's governor, as giving him, as giving him a book deal. You didn't see these things coming as it was going on. I don't know what to tell you. Mike, stop fucking texting me. Yes, I mean, come on, guys. Come on. And even the replacement of de Blasio with this new police officer, don't think things are going to get better in New York unless you push back. And I mean push for Cuomo to go to prison. Let me repeat that. For Cuomo to go to prison. That's what we want. We don't want him taking his $5 million from his crooked book deal that was ghostwritten and just being on his way. That's not all right. That's not okay. All right? Oh, boy. It's wild to me. And don't get me wrong, I don't want the guy in office at all. But ask yourself, what's going on in New York? Did you see national attention to the massive protests yesterday? To mandatory boop boops and the shot? Did you see that? Because I didn't see it. I missed all of that. Right? Oh, that's right. They're not covering those things. And they're still propagating bullshit. And they're still protecting people like Cuomo, whether or not they're sexual predators. And people do think it's funny that he and Fauci are the original gangster team. I mean, give me a break. It makes me want to vomit. It makes me sick to my stomach when I hear those things. And if you think you've seen the last of Andrew Capo Cuomo because of all this, I guarantee you that you have not. Let me repeat that. That you have not seen the end of Andrew Capo Cuomo, unfortunately. I wish you had. I sincerely wish you had. I sincerely wish this was the takedown and he was going to go into prison and we were going to have criminal accountability for his behavior, but we ain't. That's not what's about to happen. That's not what's going on. No. Instead, again, they moved the goalpost and they made it about, Andrew Cuomo, sexual villain and whatever. Like, that's part of it, sure. But is it as big a part of it as, say, I don't know, killing thousands upon thousands of elderly people with your policies? And by the way, how does this look? It looks like shit on my end, guys. Is it terribly choppy here? You tell me. Is it terribly choppy on the ride here? I thought that I would have good service and whatever, but you know how these little ride-alongs go, guys. You never know whether or not it's gonna look good. It's gonna not look good. There's a lot of stories out there that we need to be covering, and some of those stories also include the fact that Zombie Joe just can't talk as he allows for this draconian New World Order agenda. Okay? Let's see, the video is chopping, but the audio is great. Okay. Yeah, the video should be gold, but no, it's crap. Weird. And what do I mean by this quote-unquote New World Order agenda? Well, look, when they're telling you by 2030 they want a car with a breathalyzer that tracks, traces, and databases and ultimately taxes you for your travel, and it has to have smart devices in it so that it can be rendered useless at any time, yeah, that's tyranny. That's not the freedom to travel as you wish. That's tyranny. That's techno-tyranny. And they want it for you. You know, we talked about that Earth 2100 being a complete predictive programming piece of propagated garbage. Well, Anthony Fauci is a piece of propagated garbage. And yes, he does make an appearance in there when they're trying to fearmonger these natural viruses that will cause all of us to die. But then you watch Fauci in July, and I didn't even play this clip, but they're talking about emails between him and Mark Zuckerberg, and he actually uses the term propagating talking points. I mean, think about that. The guy actually uses the term propagating when discussing what he and Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook, are talking about via COVID-1984. And I put up that Mount Vernon meeting, that Mount Vernon board meeting, because you had an actual doctor step up to the plate, right? The doctor stepped up to the plate and he said, hey, this is what's really going on. Here's some paperwork. Here's a thumb drive. Here's what we need to be doing. Here's what we don't need to be doing. And immediately I get a contextual fact check underneath. Oh, the fact checkers are there to save me. In my post, I didn't mention anything via COVID-1984. Of course not. But the algorithm runs through it, and then enough people post it, and then they have their cookie cutter answer to spew out their bullshit, their propaganda. And it's so funny. So if you guys don't know, I posted on my Facebook yesterday, and I talked about it a little bit via one of my broadcasts, that the New York Times has contacted me because the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is on the way, and they want to do a piece about the impact of loose change. Now, I can tell you 100% it's a hit piece. It's the same regurgitation and propagation that these people have been doing now for almost 2 decades, as we're almost there, really 15 years plus, as the 9/11 truth movement gained traction. I felt like he was very arrogant when he responded, saying that, well, you know, your audience isn't going to like our podcast, or it wouldn't be interesting to my audience. It's like, dude, I don't think you know who my audience is. I have an audience of critical thinkers. No matter what you spew or spout, my audience is going to be interested because they want to know the angle that establishment propaganda takes. And they want to know what happens when it gets confronted with truth. And I'll tell you what happens. You get embarrassed. Your blue check mark don't mean shit. That's what happens to you. Okay? And so, you know, the guy got back to me, and he's like, well, I got to talk to my editor, but I don't see the problem. And I'm like, all right, we'll see what happens. He ain't coming on. He ain't going to interview me with my terms. He doesn't want a clear and concise record of our conversation. Okay? Instead, he wants his bullshit propaganda piece in the New York Times, where he tries to project to the world that, you know, 9/11, we should never ask questions about it, and people like myself not only are dangerous, but helped bring about the QAnon nonsense phenomenon. That's what the article's going to be about. Okay? That's what they want for my legacy. That's what they want for the legacy of truth, to conflate it with Johnny nonsense and email message board garbage. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. And they've whitewashed so much that it is hard for me to believe that Andrew Capo Cuomo is going to receive the punishment he deserves, and he deserves to be punished. I promise you that. Okay? I assure you, he belongs in prison. Let me repeat that. He belongs in prison. So we're going to be looking throughout the day. Let's see if there's an announcement. Let's see if there's a speech. Again, it's kind of disappointing because I don't think there's going to be any criminal charges brought against the guy. And I think we're going to keep stepping through with the authoritarian mandates, with the mask up, with the key to the city pass, with the literal abuse of your children in that state, okay, with the contact tracing, with the contracts with Bloomberg, with the education given to Bill Gates, with the rest given to Eric Schmidt, right? And Bezos just comes on in. That's what I believe. That's what I'm seeing. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on this little ride along. Let's get 100 thumbs up, huh? 100 thumbs up before we go. And I want to remind people there's a ton of exclusives over at Rockfin. If you caught my Rand Paul video last night where I could barely show Rand Paul, I suggest you go over to Rockfin and check out the full thing, uncensored. That's where it's at. Guys, I love you, and I'll see you on the flip side.